Hi everybody, I'm Brendan Peterson, Product Marketing Manager here at Scribe, and I'm going to be your presenter for today's webinar, talking about blazing new trails in Salesforce, leveraging Integration Platform as a Service, or iPaaS. So quick agenda for today, we're going to go through a quick kind of overview of what a Salesforce admin's life really looks like, how iPaaS can come in there and relieve some of the pressure, those ongoing components you guys have to deal with just day in and day out. So we're going to take a little bit of time to walk through some of those and cover off some success stories, some customers that have been able to utilize iPaaS in their Salesforce environments and how that's helped out both their organizations, their enterprises, but as well as their Salesforce admins. There's some time at the end for some Q&A, so if there's any questions, you can go ahead and leverage the Q&A section throughout, and we'll address those at the end of the webinar. So, a day in the life of a Salesforce admin. This should come as no surprise to any of you. This is a job where most paths lead through it to get to any kind of success. So there really is no end to the number of incoming requests you're going to have. There's also no real filtration. So depending on the size of your organization, you might be the only person who is taking care of the care and feeding of Salesforce. All your business is going to run off Salesforce, but you now are stuck with the duty, the privilege of being the one to keep it up and running. Because of that, you don't have much time on your hands. And that's both the ability to get trained up on new components of Salesforce. Also, the way that you can get these things done the first time the most quickly that you can. There's always, we have lots of ways to accomplish the same task, but you can give that same task to 15 people and get 14 outcomes because you'll be able to have different paths to get to that same endpoint. So you kind of just get it done with as fast as possible to get it off your desk. There also seems to be no real understanding of the complexity of what these things that they're asking are. So, it should be easy. It doesn't seem like it's that tough. Those are things that we hear constantly. And really, you don't have any way you can really tell them how hard it really is, because Salesforce is being sold as this complete, easy platform. It should be simple to use, quick to develop upon. So there really isn't a broad understanding about how hard some of these seemingly simple tasks really are. There's also just no budget. So you're going to use whatever tools you've already got. You're going to find freemium, different tool sets that are out there in order to just get your job done. There's not a lot of extra budget to find that really interesting thing that'll help your admin do some of those day-to-day tasks. It's just not in that yearly budget, whether it's operations or IT. And in general, that bottom bullet here, this has been echoed from a lot of my friends and colleagues who are in this space, that it's just an position where you are completely overworked and certainly underappreciated. When you do things well, it's kind of the standard expectation that, yeah, good, you did what I asked, awesome. When things don't go well or when things take longer than people perceive they should, it's immediately that everyone is kind of looking down upon that. So it's kind of a thankless job. So what we're going to try today is maybe add some knowledge in here about how you might be able to get a little more out of that and try to do that job just a little bit more easily. So we have a couple of slides here talking about these different survey results. And what we're going to see is the theme throughout here. So you can see the top 5 with records, training, integrations. Most of that is around data. And as you go down that list more, you see more and more data elements coming up. So a big struggle for a Salesforce admin in this space is dealing with data in all of its different varying forms. This could be from, as we see, a lot of integration, but it's also just good data. It's hard to get good data, and it's hard to make good decisions on bad data. So that's a huge part of it. This next one is really other critical things that are facing you. Again, a common thread is that a lot of this is around data. So Salesforce as a platform is fantastic. It's got a lot of capabilities, a lot of kind of streamlined ease of use, but because of that, you have a lot of people that just are interacting with that platform day in and day out, whether it's Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Communities, Pardot, anything that's in there. So what we have now is many different inputs into one very easy to work with platform, and what that gives us is that these individuals may not be taking the care and attention that they always need to. We have seen plenty of iterations where you've got 17 of the same contact just because by the time you had 4 of them, it's too hard to go back and clean it up. So you're just going to keep continuing and propagating the issue because the thought of going back and validating all that information, getting that data in the way you need it, it's just too much to handle. So there really is a lot of focus around data, just making sure that you have the right data at the right time, the right place, in order to do these jobs more easily. And these are the things that are weighing on a lot of the survey recipients, people who fill it out. That's on their minds of things that they are thinking about, day in and day out. So that gets us into the Salesforce platform. Now, Salesforce as a company, obviously it's been around for a while. It does a great job of marketing itself. And when you look at their external presence, when you start to get sold the Salesforce pitch, this is kind of what it seems like. When you start to hear this, it's that, it's this one big overarching platform with lots of things. It's got all these pieces that I can kind of add on or remove over time. It gives me everything that I need in my day-to-day here. But that may not be completely true. When you start to look at the reality of what Salesforce is a great platform with lots of clouds inside of that platform. Now, because of this, when you start to really, if you're on the buying side of Salesforce, this becomes clear extremely quickly and evident about what you're actually getting, what you're paying for, that there are these different kind of buckets within that same Salesforce instance. Now, as far as an admin is concerned, you might, at this point, if you have multiple Salesforce clouds in your environment, you may have multiple Salesforce admins. But really, this is what most enterprises look like today. They'll have some Salesforce, they'll have some other stuff. And because of that, now you've got those same big buckets of information: reporting, service, marketing, sales, and then just that kind of orchestration layer. All these different areas still have the need to talk to one another. Those problems that we saw with data from a couple earlier slides of the survey results, those don't go away once you're just on multiple different clouds. Those still remain, those stay the same, except now you don't have that unified interface. Now you have lots of different pieces and different players who might be interacting with that data at different points in the customer journey. When you think about that lead to cash process, it's going to go from marketing through sales into service. That's going to be the path it takes over time. You need to make sure that, through each piece of that journey, that individual's got the right information that is going to help service them, so that you can give them, that best journey through your entire process. So finally, really, with some of the Salesforce pieces, we are now in a point when enterprises have adopted cloud. This is no longer that in a few years it'll become the de facto standard. It's not that you have large enterprise that's staying away from it because it's still an unmature system. Cloud is here and it's here to stay. So with that, we now have this introduction of a new phenomenon where line of business users, your marketing managers, your directors or VPs can go out and just bring on a new cloud app without ever involving corporate IT. We have a great example of that here, where we had someone in marketing looked at a new video hosting platform and it seemed great, and it was really cheap to get onto there. It was within their budgeting expense of not having to get a PO signed, not having to do anything, just put on a credit card and let it go. So we started doing that, and then suddenly we start using it a lot. And now that we're using it a lot, it now has integration requirements, and it's got other places in the business where it has value and it's going to start playing into that factor. But in that whole process, it was just one individual brought it on to serve their need, and now it's become an enterprise selection for the company to use. And that was a really, that happens every day in every company. And then the problem is that with that, you're still stuck with supporting those applications. Once it becomes ingrained in your systems, it's there to stay. With that, bringing on these things, most people in the world, unless you're into the bigger enterprise or you're really a forward-thinking company, you're not thinking about integration as that first component of what your decision process is. Will the application solve my need? Yes. Will it talk to my other things? Well, it should. And that's the biggest problem, is that we have those integration users are just used to things working well. We've heard this phrase that nowadays everyone is a CIO or a CTO, because I can go home, I could buy a Nest, and suddenly I have an app on my phone that is hooked up to my Nest. Then I have other apps, I've got other smart devices that I can hook all together. So now at certain times of the day, my house gets warmer, my lights turn on. At a certain time of the evening, the lights go off, the house cools down. So that is a lot of complex integration that's happening behind the scenes, but to an end user, I'm just downloading an app, hitting a few buttons, and things just work. That has been now brought into the enterprise where people think integration should be that easy. You've got that old DB2 server that's full of lots of years of legacy data. That isn't unimportant. That is still a critical part of the business. So bringing that on should be a project, but instead it's just, hey, this should be simple and easy. So all this going around, Salesforce is the center of that business universe for people who are adopting the platform, and Salesforce admins are often just left, as we say, holding the bag. You're the ones who people look to say, hey, you have to make this happen. I don't really care that it's not easy or simple. You're just going to have to make it, you do your job, quote unquote. So this is kind of the new landscape that we're faced with. When you start thinking about this, adding in an integration platform can start to kind of even the playing field. So now it doesn't matter which cloud you're on, Salesforce, Zendesk, SAP. You can take those different implementations and systems and tie them together through that unified platform. Have one way that now you have data control, you have mechanisms to enable this type of flow of data much more easily. It's not always that you got to go write up some Apex code to make everything happen. You've got other tools inside your kit now that you can start to use to help augment and change some of this data. Scribe's online platform, Scribe Online, Integration Platform as a Service, provides that hub and spoke type of approach. So you've got that Scribe integration platform right in the center, and it can tie together all these different types of endpoints you have. Scribe's integration platform, as you'll see in a few moments, is a very simple to use interface. It is something that you can drag and drop. It's got a nice little UI, and it allows you to build the integrations that have always been kind of held hostage by that developer persona. Now someone who is not proficient in Apex code can still build a bidirectional integration with Salesforce and their legacy data stores, or Salesforce and their marketing automation platform. So it really lowers the barrier to entry for integration. So within the Scribe Online platform, we do talk to all the different Salesforce clouds. So you can see the list over there on the right. And we have several different services we offer. Replication is just taking a copy of that Salesforce instance that you have and bringing it down to a common database. So a SQL, MySQL, Oracle database. It can happen on a schedule. It can bring back just that net change data. It keeps the schema up to sync. So really simple to use, wizard-driven approach, but is that one-way synchronization or replication of data. Integration is that bidirectional sync between Salesforce and other apps. So moving a lead from Marketo into Salesforce, having it convert to a contact, get some more information provided to it, and then bringing that contact back over to Marketo for a more complete picture of that individual. That two-way sync of data is also supported. Within the Salesforce connector that we support things like outbound messaging, so event-driven support, so it can build a workflow in Salesforce and it can push data out to Scribe. We can support the bulk API for large migration projects. It really is a declarative interface that we're working with, so it's a low-code, no-code environment in order to build out these integrations. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through a couple of different examples here, and then we'll take you into the product and show you what some of these pieces look like. The first is this common use case we have with this call center. Call center had a problem with a lot of dropped calls. The problem we had is with this individual customer is those people who were getting the calls dropped were having a hard time getting back to the insurance provider, and it caused them to start looking at competitors. So it had that kind of low net promoter score. So what we're able to do is allow those Salesforce admins in that organization to build a workflow just to look for that trigger of a status of call dropped. And what they wanted that to do is to move that data into Salesforce Marketing Cloud or ExactTarget at the time, and allow that integration to say, hey, when this event occurs, have Salesforce Marketing Cloud send out an email to that individual and give them the ability to reconnect with their agent. And that seemed like a pretty easy thing. As soon as you start thinking something's easy, of course, you're going to find all the hurdles. And this ended up going into kind of the back stack of the developer queue, where they had, I think it was like a 9-month window before they were going to even get to this project. So these Salesforce admins, they were already involved in a project where Scribe Online was being used for other integrations with ExactTarget. So they brought this up in conversation, said, yeah, we can absolutely do that. It's just another feature of the platform. They were able to build these integrations within a couple of days. At the time that I built this PowerPoint presentation, they had built almost 38 different integrations that do the same type of workflow, where a workflow in Salesforce pushes some message out to Scribe, Scribe picks it up and does something within Salesforce or ExactTarget. So it really allowed them to build out the business process they needed by just adding a couple other tools on there. And they were able to do that without any help from a development organization. They were able to just all do that from their Salesforce admin group and add these different value adds to the customer experience. So pretty cool. The next one is refreshing your sandbox. So if you are really dedicated to that Salesforce platform, you may have one or multiple sandbox instances set up. I know we at Scribe are a big Salesforce organization, and we have all of our teams running on it. We have our support team and Service Cloud. So we leverage a lot of our business around Salesforce, and therefore we have a lot of different sandboxes to test out changes and improvements to the process. So for our internal Salesforce admin, it was advantageous to build an automatic sync of certain objects from our production Salesforce instance into those different sandbox environments. So that way we had real live data we can work with when we're doing these different levels of testing. We can compare results to what should be in production and make sure things matched up. So really simple to do. We could even do that for just one entity or many, and we can set it up to be an automatic sync. Run that every hour, every 15 minutes behind the scenes, pushing new data into that sandbox environment, allowing us to have real data to do our testing against. Another one is with this kind of Salesforce to Salesforce instance. So integration may not always have to go one place to another. It could go from one same point to another location inside of there. In this case, there's just things that Salesforce will kind of let you do, but not to the complete standards of what you want. We have, again, a couple examples here. With things like partners, contact roles, you can't do much around those. It kind of is what it is. For partner-driven organizations, this can be challenging. So what you can do is you can leverage an integration platform to get that data to intersect, to update different components that are related, but not in a way that Salesforce workflow will allow you to move that data through by utilizing those integration platforms. Another couple of great examples is doing some aggregation or roll-ups. So what are the different SLA infractions that have happened across a partner organization or any of their customers? So you can start to do that through an integration platform by extracting the data, doing something with it, and getting it right back up into Salesforce. And then, of course, there's some other areas where you want to just basically get something from one place in Salesforce to another, and there's no native way to do that. So by utilizing these integration platform operations, you can make that a little bit easier. We do have the comment in there about helping move to Lightning. We do have a blog post about this if you go check our blog at scribesoft.com. But basically, with some of the changes with Lightning, there are certain pieces of data that need to get moved from one object to the other to support the new Lightning interface, and they haven't yet deployed a method to do that. So you can utilize an integration platform to move things like content. You want to move things from content into files. You can use an integration platform to move that data over. Email templates is another good one, where if you want to use the new method of email templates across objects, you can leverage that integration platform to do that as well. So yeah, we do have a couple of examples of that on our blog if you want to take a look at that after the webinar. Another one is reporting. Reporting is just such a big part of Salesforce. They've done a lot better with having the Wave platform come out, but really, if you're staying within the native Sales Cloud, the reporting is such a critical aspect where once you start to build reports, people just start to see the value immediately and they want you to build more. And there's only so far you can go. I have the comment there about the things that you can do, but you can't report on. So having multi-level relationships, there are sometimes you may want to be able to pull product preference information from opportunity line items all the way back through to an account and partner organizations, and there's just no simple way to do that within the Salesforce.com native platform. So you can leverage integration platforms to move that data somewhere else, get it out to SQL, pull it to a CSV file, do it on an automated basis where you can build BI dashboards on top of that. So leverage other BI tools to help you get more out of your data. And if you automate that process, you can always know that those dashboards are going to show you exactly what you've got and what you can work with. So all that being said, let's take a quick dive into the product. And let's take a look here at some of the integrations we have. So for Scribe Online is a cloud-based integration platform, fully responsive UI, HTML5, so you can use it on whichever device you want. I happen to be using a Surface, could be an iPad, could be a laptop. And what we have is these integrations are grouped together, kind of their logical outcome. Integrations can either run in the cloud via a cloud agent or on-premise via a premise agent. And you have things you connect with. So connect to Salesforce, then any of the other endpoints that I need to build this integration out. So let's start with that integration workflow. This is that event-driven integration where I want to grab a call that was dropped from Salesforce, and I can see I'm waiting for a case message, and do something with it. When I create this, I get an endpoint URL where it will now give me the ability, I can paste this into Salesforce, and Salesforce can push messages and data out to this endpoint for me to do something with. So here I can go look some things up. I can change some data around. If I want to add any other logic here, so let's say I don't want to just upsert a lead. I also want to say I want to do let's say a create on an opportunity. So I can add that with a drag and drop. I can see the list of different entities that exist here, so both standard and custom. So let's take, actually we're using insurance, I'll use the insurance policy. And then I can go in here and say, okay, now that I've got an object, I want to do some field mappings. So I very simply just take, drag and drop across. If I want to apply more filtration and logic, I can go through here and I can say, okay, I know there's some garbage data, so I'm going to go ahead and apply a clean function. Get 90 different functions baked into the platform that allow me to build this logic within here. Another nice thing is I can see visually, it's telling me things I haven't done yet. So I haven't provided a policy ID or a lead ID. So it's going to give me a running list, and as I come back out, I can see that both on the top level here as well, of things I haven't done to make this work. So really simple to build out these integrations, really easy to work with. And again, that drag and drop interface makes it really handy to work within the platform. Sandbox refresh, a little bit of different type of job where I can run it on a schedule. So it's not going to be something that I trigger off of an incoming call. I can say, I want to run this every day, every 15 minutes. So I can change that here and have that now start to move that data at that set schedule. I can say to whatever components I wish to have here. If I want to say something like this, I want to add another object. Let's do a lead record. So we go through and I'm going to add those different connections. I have a list of all these different shared connections and saved ones that I've had over time. So I can say I've got a Salesforce. I'll grab another one of my Salesforce sandbox. And all I have to do is, okay, I want a query. For everything I get from that query, I'm just going to go ahead and do an upsert into that other Salesforce instance. In this case, again, let's say we're going to do leads. So I can scroll down this. With this being Salesforce, it's got a lot more custom objects within here and a lot of objects, period. So let's go ahead and grab lead. Do the same thing here. So I'm going to grab that lead object. Once I create this physical mapping between these two, I'm left with just that process we saw a second ago of creating the field mappings. Because this is a simple sync, what I'm able to do is I can actually use this auto link feature, and that will allow me to automatically map all of this data together. I could also leverage bulk processing. So if I wanted this to be fast and quick and use some of the common Salesforce bulk and batch APIs, I can leverage that as well. So it allows me to do this really simple synchronization of data within these different objects, and this will now give me the ability to have a brand new integration between the Salesforce production and sandbox instance of moving this data across. So really, really simple. So lastly, let's go and take a look at just, again, that kind of Salesforce to Salesforce instance. So that lightning migration, documents over to files. Here again, I can see some of that kind of branching logic, something really simple to work through. If I want to walk this through piece by piece, we've actually got an inline debugger that I could use. So even though it's a visual platform, it still has development tool sets to allow people to come in here and really do that fine-tooth level of integration logic and of testing and trialing and troubleshooting to make sure it's going to work exactly the way you need it to. All right. So we have one more use case I want to cover, And that's just a little bit a more of an out there use case, which may not be one of your things you deal with day to day, but eventually this might be. So someone gets Amazon devices as a gift. Could be an Echo, a Dot, a Tab, could be a Google Home, could be something. All of those different smart devices have the ability now to be custom coded to talk to other areas, other things. Now you could utilize that as, oh, go play me a song from somewhere. That's interesting and cute, but for an enterprise, that doesn't have much value. What we're starting to see is that it would be nice as I'm going through this, I'm a director of sales, I'm constantly checking my pipeline. I want to see where things are at. I want to see what's closed today, what's closed this week. If I have to constantly go back to Salesforce, run the report, take a look at the dashboard, it's going to take me away from whatever I was doing. It would be really nice to be able to just, as I'm working on something else, ask Alexa, hey, what's closed today? And have it tell me information from my Salesforce. That's what we've been able to do with the Alexa and Google devices, where now, with these custom skills, we can have basically Alexa calls an integration. The integration layer goes and gets whatever data we tell it to. This could be those sales stats. This could also be for our VP of Customer Success has one of these set up where he can ask what cases are escalated right now. And it can tell, Alexa will tell him if there's 1, 2, 3, or 0. And based upon what she says, he can then say, okay, I'm going to go look at that now. Or if everything looks clear, he can continue doing whatever he was doing. But it's a way you can be more productive without interrupting your kind of common flow, but still get the information you need. So those smart devices, we're going to start to see more and more in the enterprise. It's just another thing you can do and add more value by leveraging that integration platform in the middle and not just straight custom code. So we're going to open up for Q&A. I'm also going to go ahead and bring this to the final slide here for those of you who are going to be watching this on demand. Just a couple of good links you can see here. And again, I will say that there is, go take a look at our blog, look at some of the Salesforce information we have on the corporate site, and definitely take it for a spin. So again, I'll go ahead and open up for questions.